people will just trickle in. Otherwise, this is being recorded. So we will go through some housekeeping first before we get started. So welcome to RISE. This is our second virtual event of the year. My name is Jessica Brooks, and I'm the chair of the RISE Interest Group. The goal today is to discuss committees. So I will do a quick review of kind of where to find that information on the website, and then we'll dive in and hear from both of our panelists, who I'll introduce in a few minutes. But first, we have been asked to record this session. So if you don't wish to be recorded, please mute your webcam and just participate through the chat function. Also, feel free to raise your hand if you do want to chat. We go to the next slide. We do have some upcoming events as well that we wanted to point out. We have the AATCC Standard Detergent, A Fresh Spin, which is a virtual event on March 9th, and another virtual event, Haptics and Textiles, December 13th to the 14th. And then we do have two in-person events coming up, PFAs in Textiles Conference, that's going to be in North Carolina in July, and then the Textile Discovery Summit in Greenville, South Carolina in September. Before I introduce our panelists, I want to first just show everyone how to get to committees. So if you are at the home screen of AATCC, if you're here, you can either click on Join and then Committees, and you can see the different types of committees here. And then you can also click on the link. So say we wanted to learn more about color fastness to water, you could click on it and kind of just understand what the scope of that method is. The other way to look at the committees as well is if you're in your member portal and you click on committees, you can see them all listed out, and that brings you to that same screen. But to actually join a committee, you're going to want to click on Join Committees, and then you can join a committee here once you know which one you want to be part of. So fairly simple. We have two panelists today that are going to be discussing their experiences with committees. The first we have is Erica. Erica is the technical director for AATCC. She is an experienced textile professional with more than 15 years of standard development. She was a past secretary of AATCC and chair of the RA 63 water resistant to test methods, and appointed member of the ECR, the Executive Committee on Research. Erica received her BS in Textile Engineering from NC State University and an MBA from Wake Forest University. Heather is also with us today as a 2016 Wilson College of Textiles alumni. She served as vice president of her student chapter and has remained active in AATCC since graduating. She is currently a colorist at Elevate Textiles Threads Division. Heather is the chair of the RA 36 Color Measurement Test Methods, secretary of RA 87 Applied Dyeing and Characterization of Dyes Test Methods, secretary of the Piedmont section, and 2020 awardee of the AATCC Future Leader Award. So I thought we could first start with Heather and just have you kind of discuss your experience. How did you get into committees? And anything that you can talk about with it. And you're muted, just so you can.
Thank you, because I was definitely talking to myself. But yeah, my name's Heather Johnson. I work at American and Eferter, Elevate Textiles. Known now. So I've always been active in A squares through college and through very beginning of my career through now. But I started with going to committee meetings, and I went for a couple years without being really active, but just kind of learning the whole process. And then I was in RA 87, and I was asked to fill in for the secretary for that committee. Not committing to it, but he's like, they're not here today. Do you mind just taking some notes for me? And so I did. And then next thing you know, they're like, well, you did such a great job. Why don't you, do you want to go ahead and take on the role? But being able to do it and before I was actually committed to it was really nice, because it was a very easy transition. And then the same thing kind of happened when the head of RA 36. But I was very lucky that the old head of RA 36 is still very active and helps me out a lot. So
it's both kind of like voluntold situations. So.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. But honestly, I don't think I would be involved. Sometimes you need that push, because it can be kind of intimidating when you have all these, especially as a young professional, you have all these people with all this knowledge that you're surrounded by. But they're really there to help, and they want to help, and they want to see you succeed. So.
Yeah, do you feel that you've made some connections through the committees that maybe you wouldn't have had if you didn't join them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Erica, do you want to talk about how you kind of came on, like, into the committees? And you're also muted.
Like Heather, I started with AATCC in college. I mean, it was kind of way back in the day when there was like plenty of money being thrown around. So it was like, hey, NC State students in the College of Textiles, y'all want to go to Hilton Head for free? AATCC is sponsoring it. Sure, why not? Free food and a trip. But all seriousness aside, ever since my college experience with AATCC, I have been a member of AATCC even throughout my first job. I wasn't really active, just kind of showed up at the meetings, floated from one meeting to the next. But kind of piggybacking on what Heather indicated, sometimes it takes just one person saying, hey, I think you can do this. And that just kind of opens the door to wider opportunities. So I started as a secretary on RA 63, literally being, hey, Erica, take notes today. And it just kind of blossomed from there, and then became the chair of the committee, and then eventually got involved in other things in AATCC. So it's a great opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more. The idea is that you are an expert, but this is one thing that I learned early on. How many days have you been on the job? Well, one. Well, you're an expert in your field. So you kind of got to shake off the imposter syndrome and kind of recognize that you might not know everything, but you still know an awful lot. And there are a lot of resources through the members and the other chairs that can help you know even more than you currently have access to.
Yeah, so say someone had a question on a specific test method, how do they get in contact with the chair of the committee?
Well, now it is very easy. We have AATCC Communities. So through communities, assuming you are a member of a particular committee, you can, just put your question out there, and lots of people can answer. Or you can just look up who the chair is and just send them a direct message through the communities. So it's much easier now. In the past, it would be you get a hold of someone on staff and they would make the connection. That was just more to just be cognizant of people's privacy and not just giving emails out broadly.
Right. Okay, great. Heather, do you recommend that other students or new people to the industry join committees that maybe are in their field?
Yeah, absolutely. And I encourage anybody that even if you don't think that it really applies to your field and but you have some extra time, just sit in on some stuff. You might learn something that you never even thought about. And then also to get involved. Like I said, if you're thinking about getting involved and like want to reach out, just sit with me in a meeting or see what it's all about before committing, and that's completely fine too. I suggest that honestly, so you know what you're getting into, and you know that you're confident about the responsibility you're going to take on.
Yeah, now we have committee meetings twice a year, I believe, right?
Right, in the fall and in the spring.
Okay. Do the committees ever get together outside of that time frame, or is it just a 2 times a year commitment?
It's twice a year, but we do have subcommittees, and we do have, and that's where your really task force comes through. And then we have some. So I'm in the Piedmont section. There's different sections, and then so we'll hold different events. And if your committee is holding an event, then you'll all get together. But it's mainly those two times.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. What time of year do you think would make sense for someone to join? Would it be best to join when the committees are actually meeting, or if they're interested, kind of just reach out and jump in now?
Yeah, I would jump in now, because then you'll start getting the emails and you'll be reminded about when they are. If there's any updates to test methods or anything like that, go ahead and join. So you have it on your radar. And any like I said, if anything comes out before then, you'll be educated when you go to the meetings.
Fun. For both of you, how early are committees formed to review test methods? I'm just curious, like when a test method is, say, it's been created or hasn't been reviewed in a while, how soon are those committees then formed?
Okay. Well, we basically have set committees. So, based on topic, depending on, all standards should be reviewed every 5 years. So staff will send the committee chairs and secretaries a list of methods that are coming up for review, and they'll put it on their agenda to look at. Depending on how intense a revision might be required, they may set a subcommittee to look at certain aspects in detail, or they'll just, say 1 or 2 people, you handle looking at it and you'll speak for the rest of us, kind of thing. New methods, they kind of happen in all kind of different ways. Sometimes it'll be a topic and a few people will say, hey, we need a subcommittee to really focus on developing what we want a standard to look like. Sometimes it can just be a group discussion through the course of 2 or 3 years worth of meetings, and then get to the point where someone is like, okay, let's write this down and make it a little bit more formal. So it's a little bit sometimes structured, a lot of times organic.
Okay, fair. And then, so besides the test method committees, there's also committees for research, and then there's some admin committees. I think there's some kind of event committees as well. Are members able to join a variety of committees, or are they typically only joining the test method ones?
Members can join a variety of committees on their own. So most of the research and technology and even interest group committees, you can just say, this is something that I'm interested in, and just, fill out the application, and voila, peanut butter, you're a member. Others, they have to be appointed, and then some are voted on. Mainly, a lot of the leadership positions have to be voted on. But most of the meetings are open, so even if you wanted to join the education committee or the membership committee, you can. But if you wanted to be on certain parts of the board, you kind of have to either be head of a specific committee or be appointed to those. But then that's where getting involved and letting people know that you are truly interested in AATCC gets you on people's radar, so they'll be like, hey, that's a person who's willing to participate. How about tapping them to join XYZ board or whatnot?
Yeah, and you can only be a voting member in 2 of the committees, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you can join. You can be a voting member of, I believe it's 2. It might be 3, but no more than 3. And that's just so that, it's fair to everybody. But you can be a non-voting member of as many committees as you want. I would say kind of temper that with the things that you're truly interested in and what you honestly have the bandwidth to dedicate to.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. We have Diana gave us 3 test method committees and 3 technology committees. If any of our participants have any questions, you can certainly feel free to raise your hand or type into the chat. I'm just asking any questions that I was interested in, because honestly, I've been a member of AATCC since, I don't know, I think 2011 at this point, and I've never been involved in committees, and I don't know why. Right? I mean, I'm chair of the interest group, and then I'm also the VP of Delaware Valley section, but and I've gone to different events, but for some reason, it's just never jumped onto my radar as something that I needed to be part of. But a question came up during one of our RISE groups on committees. And so I said, well, let's do this panel on committees and start talking about them so that all of our members can, get their feet wet and maybe start joining. What would you, let's see, what else? What else could you want people to know about committees?
Yes, particularly for if you're joining for, like, say, represent your company's interests, it's an excellent opportunity to really, I know that it's a trite saying, but be in a room where it's happening. Most companies have individual standards that they would love to be international standards. So this is a way to be able to help put your organization's stamp on what the industry that you're operating in is going to be doing. You might not get your way because it's all about consensus and compromise, but you can get your voice in there and have your flavor added to the mix. And you kind of get a little bit of heads up as to what changes you might need to implement to your process so that you are in compliance with the standard that will be coming out. I would share, for me, it was kind of one of the things with one of my last companies, the director, he was like, he told my immediate supervisor, you're gonna go to AATCC and you're gonna be a chair. Well, my boss, being the cool guy that he was like, Erica, you go. And you can be the secretary, and you can be the chair. So by default of your accomplishments, I get credit for doing what my manager told me to do. So that was just kind of a little bit of a side story to for the committee that I got involved with. I mean, I had a burning passion because it was what was paying the bills, and it was one of the things that I was directed to kind of develop some internal standards around. So it was helpful to be a part of the standards that the industry was following and being able to represent my company's interest in what was going on at the time.
And to go on your point, Erica, about finding out new things, that's very relevant, because if there's a change coming, you want to know what the change is. Right now, we're seeing a lot with the LED lighting, which are standard lights, are not LED. So I'm in that conversation, and I know where it's heading. So that way, not one day I'll come into work and they're like, oh, everything has to be LED. We don't know where we're going with it, and we'll see what people are going to or using, and then so that's been really helpful.
Yeah, which committee is that? Because I definitely need to join as a colorist myself.
That is RA36. That's the chair. That's what I'm the chair of. There's actually
Perfect.
a subcommittee that we started about color measurement or color evaluation with LEDs.
Perfect. Yes, I am adding that to the ones that I need to join.
Yeah.
Great. Diana gave us a comment. Vote and comment where you can, abstain where you can't. Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds really like it's something that everyone should be part of if they feel strongly about the test methods, or if it's something that their company, maybe you're producing the materials that are used in test methods, or the washer machines that go into some of those different types of standards. It's a really good thing to be a part of. And I know that some of the committees are definitely hurting for members. So the more members that we can get to become more active in them and give their expertise, I think would be great for industry.
Absolutely agree. I would tell you right now, there is one committee that is in dire need of a chair. That is committee RA111, which is on e-textiles. You don't have to be an expert in everything E or everything textiles. Just have an interest in seeing that segment of the industry grow. There are lots of resources that, we can all tap in and learn together. But without a chair, it's hard for that committee to do whatever the next level things that need to happen. So I invite and encourage anyone on the meeting today to think about joining RA111 and becoming the chair if you have an interest in E or textiles.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't tapped into Christina yet, because she is doing some 3D textiles at Gore. Although I think she might be tapped out being, the chair of materials and the president of the Delaware Valley section, but maybe there's something there. She couldn't attend today. She's traveling, but I'll let her know that there's one out there that maybe she needs to be part of. Perfect. All right. Does anybody else on the call today have any questions or anything you want to show, or you want us to show you on the website? Anything to do with committees? Anything with AATCC Communities? Hopefully you are all active on there. Quiet group. But this will be good. I noticed that, I know that, oh, all right, Maria says show the communities. Let me log in real quick and I will show you communities. I've been trying to add anyone that's in the RISE group as a contact. I also, so this is just my homepage. I also really like that there's points and you can kind of compete with people. I don't know if anyone else is a little competitive, but I like kind of being on the leaderboard when I can. So it makes it fun. But once you've logged in, which your login is the same as your AATCC login, you can kind of go in and see which communities you are part of. These are all of the ones that I'm in. But then if you go into RISE, you can see our group and you can see where there's been discussion. There's different discussion boards that we have members talking and chatting about. You also can go to our library and see past meetings or notes or past recordings. This recording will be added. You can see the other members within our group. So if you have someone that you want to connect with, you can see that you can connect with them, you can send them messages. And there's just a lot that you can do here. You can see, you can see how many members. You can add every single member if you wanted to, which eventually I'll probably try to do. It's really good. But I assume, yes, if you were part of a committee, you would see that committee here, and you would see any discussions that might be happening on AATCC Communities. I'm assuming that our committees are starting to become active on here as well.
Yeah, hi, I'm Josie Cranfield. I'm the staff member who's in charge of AATCC Communities. First of all, thank you so much for being so active. It's been such a pleasure to see. We put a lot of work into this to get our members connected. Once you become part of a community within 24, or part of a committee, within 24 hours, it should show up on your community's page. In my communities. If you do not see it, please feel free to email me, and I'll be dropping my email in the chat as well. If you've noticed that you're not part of the RISE community, again, please email me. We'll make sure that we get you in there. One of the things that I really like from a young professional perspective is the directory. You can look up people's jobs and functions and their companies. One of the big things as a young professional, you get a lot of questions that you have to answer, and trying to find the resources that you need can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Both the committees, the research committees especially, and communities, I'm hoping, well, the staff is hoping we'll be able to give you resources to help you on your professional journey and get some of those questions answered.
Absolutely. It's really great. I've been finding so many new people, and even just from our section, I'm sure Heather and the PD just because we haven't really had the access to them. And so I posted about us having our next in-person event, and we have quite a few people that has not come to events in the past, maybe because we weren't able to contact them or we weren't sure what their email address was, that we now can have come to this in-person event. So it's exciting to be able to really connect with each other now. Any other questions? If not, I hope this was helpful to everyone. I appreciate Heather and Erica for answering questions, sharing your experiences. I'm now definitely joining your committee on LED because I need to be part of that, especially as a brand that uses LED lighting in our store. Definitely need to be part of that.
Yeah. We'll be happy to have you.
Perfect. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. I know we have a lot of AATCC staff on this call, so you can see their contact information. And looking forward to our next event. All right. Well, with that, thank you both.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.